How is it going, everyone? It's Kalomity here, and today we are going to be talking about another Game Boy Advance game. Today we are talking about a game that I actually played as a kid whenever I was sick. Whenever I was sick, I would always go over to my grandma's house, and my cousins lived there, and my cousin had a Game Boy Advance, and I would play his Game Boy Advance. And one game that he actually had for it was SpongeBob SquarePants Lights, Camera, Pants on the Game Boy Advance. And I remember playing that a lot whenever I got the chance. I didn't have a Game Boy Advance of my own, but whenever I went over there, I would play that. And I always remember the game being fantastic, and I loved playing it. And I recently found it again. I found it for $5, and I gotta say, it's actually still pretty good. And it's quite a bit different than its other console versions. You know, the Game Boy Advance version is actually very, very different. The PS2 version that I grew up playing and I actually owned growing up, I think I rented it a lot too, but the actual PS2 version was basically all mini-games. It was a big mini-game compilation, and whoever won the mini games would get their different role of whatever they were casting in the movie in the game, and that's how it would work. And this has a similar idea, but it's less mini game focused. There's still mini games there, but it actually does have platforming levels. And to figure out who gets the role for the movies in the storyline in this game, you actually have to complete the levels as certain characters. So that is a little bit different, but it is still a really fun game, and I love the level design. So first things first, SpongeBob Lights, Camera, Pants on the Game Boy Advance is made by WayForward. I figured I should throw that out there because I know a lot of people like WayForward games. This is one of those games that's made by WayForward, and it really is a fantastic game. The storyline is basically what you'd expect if you played the PS2 version. There's a hammerhead shark guy who's making a movie based off of Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man, and he needs your guys' help, the help of SpongeBob and his friends, to basically get everything together for this movie. And you have to go and find Mermaid Man, you have to go and find stuff that's missing for the set, and you basically are just trying to help them throughout the levels and stuff like that. And the whole time you're playing as SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Sandy, and in the middle of the levels, you can actually swap to those characters, which is a pretty cool feature. So you can swap at any time. Each character can take damage. You can get 2 hits. And when one character gets eliminated, it will just make you go play as one of the other characters if you still have characters available. So that is actually a really cool way to do it. So you get eliminated as SpongeBob, it will just make you play as Patrick, and you can still swap to Sandy or Squidward. So I do like that. And you can find these little character, like, it's kind of like the movie clipper that they use, whenever they're like action clip. It's kind of like that. You can find those on the levels, and if you find those, they'll give you lives, but some of them will also like change what they look like. There'll be like a TV with a clipper on the screen, and then if you hit it when it does that, it will give you an extra life. But if you hit it when it shows like Patrick on the screen, for example, it will just give you Patrick back, and it will give Patrick full health and stuff like that. So it does a very cool way of doing that. I do like the way it does all this stuff. In fact, I like the way that this game controls and handles in general. It's a very nice game. The platforming's really fun. The fact that all of these characters have different abilities and different things that they're good at is very enjoyable. I really like that. For example, Sandy Cheeks in this game, she can walk on spikes where the other characters can't. So it's kind of important to swap to her if you want to get to some secret areas in the levels and stuff like that. Or if you just want to have an easier time getting through a level and there's a lot of spikes, just swap to Sandy Cheeks and run through it. She also has her lasso ability, and she has a nice double jump that way too. Yes, Squidward. Squidward has a dashing jump, and if you do this dash jump, you can get really far in the level, and it's actually very nice to use. And he also has a ranged attack where he pulls out his clarinet, and the sound from the clarinet can actually eliminate enemies in front of him, and I really like that ability as well. You have Patrick. Patrick just does his little cartwheel move that you see in a lot of the SpongeBob SquarePants video games. So you can do that as Patrick. And he also has the ability to break blocks underneath him by doing basically a cannonball. So that's something you can do as Patrick. And then SpongeBob has the ability to actually like inflate himself, and he can eliminate enemies that way by kind of floating on top of them. And he can also, since he's shorter than everyone else, he can get through tighter passageways. So if there's like a shorter passageway, he can actually get through it when the other characters wouldn't be able to. So they definitely did do some variations for each character of what they can do, what they can't do, and I think that's actually really important if you're going to do a game like this, and it just adds a lot more gameplay and a lot more cool features and stuff you can do to the game. But yeah, I really like this game. First of all, the gameplay, like I said, it's great, but the graphics are also really nice. I love the 2D look of this game, the sprites and everything, the level design, all that stuff is wonderful. Love the character sprites, love the design, love the colors, love everything about the way this game looks. It looks fantastic. It is a wonderful looking Game Boy Advance game, and I just can't praise it enough in that aspect. The actual sound design is also really good, the music and everything. Even though the music is a bit repetitive, it's still enjoyable, and I still think they did a very good job with that stuff as well. Now, let's talk about some of the minigames for a minute. The minigames are implemented into the story a little bit. There's some like driving missions that you can do. There's these weird rhythm games that you can do. There's even this Krabby Patty making minigame that you can do. And all these minigames, they're pretty well made, I will say. The only ones I'm not a huge fan of are the car ones, because some of the car ones get a little bit too wild with their obstacles. Mainly, there's one where you're chasing the Man Ray, and Man Ray just drops these like bombs that just basically make your car just go out of control. And that mission was really annoying, but other than that, most of the mini games are pretty fun. I did enjoy them. Making the Krabby Patties was pretty fun. Making, just trying to do all the rhythm games and everything, those were pretty fun as well. Basically, you're trying to avoid Man Ray's, attacks by doing this rhythm game, and that's pretty cool as well. So I like all of the mini games. All that stuff's pretty good. There's even like this thing called like Final Mission or whatever, a final game, and it is literally just a big compilation of a bunch of the different mini games. So that one's actually really cool as well. And that's kind of what wraps up the story. But overall, this is a really fun game, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed being able to just go through all these levels again and just play a really fantastic, good-looking, fun video game that runs very well. I really enjoy this game. The only thing I would probably say as a negative is that sometimes when you're trying to swap characters, it doesn't always want you to do that. Like sometimes it's like you hold down the R button that you need to use to swap to different characters. And there's one level specifically that I can think of where there's this statue that like falls over and it's like rolling towards your characters. And for some reason, it won't always let you swap characters when you need to on that level. And on that level, you need to swap characters, because if you don't, this ball is going to hit you, and you have to swap to different characters to be able to use their unique feature. Like Patrick's cannonball, you have to use it in certain areas of this level, and it won't let you swap sometimes. So that would be like the biggest negative in this game. It's still doable, but it is aggravating that it does that. And again, that's something that's like in the late game. It's like, I think actually the last level right before the minigame compilation. So, it's just a bit annoying that that's there, and I figured I probably should mention that. But still, even with that in mind, this is still a really fun game. I really enjoyed it. It does have two difficulties. It has normal mode, and normal mode is basically what I've been talking about this entire time, but it does have an easy mode as well. And basically in easy mode, you just can't get eliminated at all. It's very easy. I mean, it's not just like a regular easy mode. This is like as easy as it gets mode, So you can't get defeated at all unless you basically just fall off a cliff. If you fall off a cliff, then you can get defeated. And if you get caught by, like the ball that's chasing you and stuff like that, you can get defeated. But that's basically it. You can't actually take damage from the enemies that are just on the level. So that's something to keep in mind. But still, I preferred normal mode. But if you just wanted, I guess, to even have a more relaxing time, this game's not that difficult. But if you really want to have just a really, really laid-back time, you could turn it to easy mode. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Go check out SpongeBob SquarePants Lights Camera Pants on the Game Boy Advance. It's still a really cheap game. You can find it I picked it up for $5, and I've seen it plenty of other places for about $5 still. And if you can pick it up for that price, 100% do it. This is a wonderful game. Definitely worth having in your Game Boy Advance collection. And I'm glad that it's aged very well. I'm glad that the nostalgia, even though I have nostalgia for this game, I'm glad to come back and play this and see that it's still a good game. That's always a good thing. So I'm looking forward to playing more of the SpongeBob games on the Game Boy Advance. I have quite a few more to play through, so that was pretty fun. So thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one. You have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.